but please, 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 don't put information in there that is not clear and precise and useful, because otherwise, very, very quickly, people are going to say, that virtual filing cabinet is full of garbage, and now I don't trust the system. Make sure it's clean and good. And this one, difficult language. It's so easy to slip into what I call, excuse me, PowerPoint talk. Yeah, simplest is best. Keep the language clear and simple, and don't try and demonstrate how clever you are by using big, long management words. There, that's the end of my sermon.
Okay, now I consider myself a good communicator. I've been a manager. I do face-to-face work with teams, running seminars. I can explain complex ideas in simple ways. I sell myself to my customers. Are you telling them my talents are useless in a virtual setup?
I would say what you need to do is, if you're going to be working in a virtual setup, you need to take a step back and consider your talents. Look, here's a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to go through this quickly now, but this is, interpersonal skills is my game. Yeah. And I just said something a couple of minutes ago about avoiding fancy language. So I've got it kind of broken down into fairly simple stuff. Yeah, get it, got it, good. This is where we are. Yeah, and here's a simple model. Sometimes we're in the business of giving information. Sometimes we're in the business of persuading people. We're telling or selling. That's one way of looking at it. If we're telling, if we're giving information, these are the tools, these are the models that I play with and work with all of the time. And each one of them has a place in the sale room, in the office where the financial controller sits, out there on the street, or in the virtual space. But the rules are a little bit different. You've got to be just a little bit more careful. I could work with you, Edward, with any one of these. What, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's about 8 there on the screen. You would understand them all if we spent time on it. And then I would say, okay, now how are you going to make this work when you're in a virtual team? Persuasion, the same story. Yeah, that one in the top left-hand corner there. My gosh, this goes back to ancient Greece. This is from Aristotle, 2,300 years ago. It says, before people can listen to you with attention, before they can believe in you, they've got to be able to answer yes to 3 basic questions, right? Has this guy got some ideas that are relevant to me? Because if he has not, I'm going to switch right off. The second question, is this a smart and honest guy? Something, my life is too short to listen to stupid liars, right? So once I've established that I've got something relevant to say, and once I've established that I'm a clever and honest person, I've got one more thing to do. I've got to help those other people understand that I'm on their side, yeah? We're back to empathy here. And these, there's 6 or 8 different models there about persuasion. Sometimes we're not informing, we're not persuading, we're teaching, we're leading. And here are the toys I play with then. So, oh gosh, more. Oh gosh, more. But any one of these, call them frameworks, models, tools, skills, talents, yeah? They can be worked with and they can be developed. Here's my favorite. This is the one at the moment. This for me is the tool that does everything. If you can get this one right, you're in business. And at this point, I have to say thank you very much to an Australian gentleman called Bill Stockton. I'm facing south as I say it. Bill said I could say thank. If I faced Australia and said thank you, I could use this. This is what he calls the creative conversation. Yeah, and this is what you should be aiming for in every engagement in your virtual team. Every engagement within the virtual team should be a creative conversation. We begin at the top with well-being. Yeah, different people, different cultures, different channels of communication establish well-being in different ways. But please, 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 in your email, just spend a few little words saying, thank you very much for your thoughtful answer to my last email. It really helped me. How long does that take? And it makes the other person feel nice. It's the equivalent of a smile. Possibilities. This is about openness. This is about saying, I don't know, tell me what you think. There's more than one way of doing this. Let's share ideas. Commitment is not about making concrete promises that you will later regret, but it's about saying, do you know something? I'm ready to work on this. I'm committed. What about you? And then you check your capability. Then you say, before we get into trouble, let's just make sure that we've got the resources, we've got the people, we've got the skills, we've got the money, we've got the technology. Let's just check that before we go ahead. And then responsibility. Remember what I was saying earlier about fuzzy functions?
Mm-hmm.
Responsibility needs to be more broadly distributed. And sometimes you're working with a culture that is not happy about taking responsibility. You know, I do what my boss tells me. And then you've got a lot of coaching work to do to say, please, if you are the only person I'm communicating with at a particular moment, you're going to have to understand that you will make me happy if you will take responsibility. And if your boss doesn't like that, well, it's time for me to have a little talk with your boss. And then feedback, acknowledgement, gratitude. Thank you very much. That was great. Do you know there's a way we could get this a little bit better? Yeah, you were doing this to me, Edward. We haven't met face to face for a couple of years now. But earlier today, when we were just checking one or two technical things on this setup here, you were saying, you know, John, each time we do this, it gets a little bit better. And I said, thank you very much. I'm glad you feel that way because I feel that way too. And guess what? Look, we're back into well-being. Yeah? If you don't do that stuff, no, it's true, man. It's true. If you don't do that stuff, look what you got. You got conflict, blame, avoidance, failure, excuses,
John,
and depression.
you're only slightly passionate about this, right? Only slightly passionate.
You see, when you're working interpersonally, yeah, this is my Australian friend Bill. He says, keep it clockwise, keep it clockwise. You've got to keep going around that circle clockwise. But then you ask yourself the question, how am I going to keep it clockwise in this email? How am I going to keep it clockwise during a 90-minute teleconference? How am I going to keep it clockwise if I go out there and see these people for 3 days? And how am I going to keep it clockwise over a 6-month project or whatever? You know, this thing is iterative, but it's a wonderful, wonderful tool. It's a wonderful key to the whole idea of virtual teamwork. And those pictures that I put up there now are a kind of a summary for us, yeah?
Yeah, and you started out talking about 4 things. You said, you know, we want to talk about money, it's about people. So that leaves time and things, which I guess...
Time and things, yeah. Yeah, well, okay, fine. I'll do time. I'll do time, and then we'll do things right at the end. Time, yeah, I mean, time zones is something I've touched on a little bit. It can be sticky. One of the client companies I was working with when they were setting up their virtual team, it was between, actually it says on that picture, it says Europe at the top. It was actually here in the UK. And they were outsourcing it was a software development company, and they were outsourcing to Bangalore certain of the phases in their software development. Part of what I was doing, frankly, was helping the UK team to get on board with the idea because there were some very negative feelings there at the beginning. They thought their jobs were under threat, you know. But we fixed all that, and we got people confident and happy in what was happening. But then they were saying to me and to my colleagues, hey, look, but there's only 3 or 4 hours during the day when we overlap. You know, we get into work here at 9 o'clock, and when our friends out there in India quit the office at 5:30, for us it's only lunchtime. So what I was saying to them was, no, look at it a different way.